Good evening, everyone. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975 entitled Open Public Meetings Act, Hardison Township Board of Education posted a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting at the office of the Hardison Township Board of Education and on the district's website and mailed to the New Jersey Herald and to the office of the municipal clerk of Hardison Township. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Verso.
Mrs. Donna Carey. Here. Mr. Nick Demsack.
Here.
Mr. Brian Jolick.
Here.
Mr. Ron Hoffman.
Here.
Ms. Dana Calza. Here. Mrs. Susan Lucarelli. Absent. Ms. Clarissa Murata. Here. Mr. Edward Brinley. Absent. And Ms. Kelly Stone. Here. We have quorum.
Great. Pull that. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We'll open it up to public comment at this time for anything on tonight's agenda. Seeing none, we'll move right into our second budget discussion. Who am I handing this off to? Dr. Ryder or Mrs. Verso?
I'll introduce you.
Okay, thank you. So you get an intro tonight.
Thanks.
Now, thanks for coming out. Hardison is, Sue and I were talking, and I talked with a bunch of other superintendents, through the years and stuff. And Hardison's pretty unique in that we have multiple public budget workshops where lots of other districts, it's presented in March, for the first time, where everything else is handled in committee. And ours is too, obviously. We talk a lot in committee. But I just want to point out that this doesn't happen everywhere, where we get to flesh out some ideas, some unknowns. We boldly tell the public we don't have all the numbers. We don't have this information or that information, and we put it out there for everybody to see. So I think that's important to say that tonight. And I'm also prepping you because we don't have all the numbers, of course. The second budget workshop always falls into that category where we have a little bit more information, but it's not complete yet. The picture starts to become a little bit more clear. And really, it just leads to more discussion. Sue, we just got a broadcast tonight where the deadline to submit the tentative budget was moved from March 19th to the 27th, right?
Yeah.
So that might change our portion. And that happens because our new governor, traditionally when the governor gives the budget speech, it's usually the end of February, and then 2 days later, the budget numbers come out, and then that enables us to punch in all those numbers and find out where we really stand and be able to present a full budget to the public. Now, but this year, the governor has given her address on March 10th instead of end of February. So that just pushes everything back a little bit. But it's okay now because they extended the deadline a little bit later, so that gives us a little bit more time. So I will turn it over to Ms. Sue Verso, and who will walk you through what we know and don't know so far.
Okay, thank you. I made this presentation, like Mike said, that
Put your eye, Mike.
it's there, I just don't want to talk this way. We don't have full numbers. There's actually two numbers that I can actually say that I know. One is the tax levy, one is the budgeted fund balance. Everything else is an estimate. Everything else that was input into the budget right now is flat state aid numbers from last year, so obviously it's going to be a little bit different. I put together the slides, the charts, because I know we have two new board members as well, so that way to follow through. And I feel like maybe when everyone sees the picture of where everything comes from, when it does come time, if there are some budget adjustments or things that have to be done, you can see, where it can get pulled from, is it administration, is it teachers, is it programs? So I just tried to put a little bit of everything in there, just to give you an idea of what falls into each category for now, and then I just have a couple of bullet points that I can speak on later, and there are some questions regarding like percentages or salary increases or anything that we can't speak yet because we are in negotiation, so I don't have any numbers that I can actually give you for a percentage for a salary increase or benefits increase. So we're working on that, so I can just give you as much information as I can. And then as I get more information, I will share it with you. Okay, so the first slide is, I'm going to just talk here, is the revenue breakdown. And that comes from, the biggest portion is the 76% of it comes from the tax levy. And every year that's increased by 2%. And this year's increase, the total will be $11,522,940. State aid, as I mentioned, makes up 11% of our budget. Last year we did go up in some of the categories. We received transportation aid, special ed. There's one PA separate. There's a couple of different ones. That we received, but some of it gets increased. Sometimes we receive security aid. I think we did get it, and then sometimes they don't. It all depends on our numbers. A lot of that comes from our ASSA numbers, the number of students that we have. That depends on the amount of funding we will get. So hopefully on March 12th or 13th, we will get some good news, and that it increased. PEA aid, the PEA aid comes from, is 9% of our budget. But that comes in as revenue and it goes out as expenditures as well, so that's kind of a wash there. We do have to put in a local, it's the local contribution out of the general fund. It's based on a percentage of the special ed students. When we put in our local.
Oh, for PEA?
Yes.
Right, so for the preschool budget, so next year our enrollment will be 90 students, but you only get funding for the general education students. So if there's 10 special education students with IEPs, then we'll get funding for 80. And so for the 10, we have to set aside a portion of the budget for 10 IEP students that come from the local source, from us.
And that information we won't have until we receive the state numbers. 3% of the budget is the budgeted fund balance that the auditors tell us that we have to budget. That's approximately $463,000 right now. There might be, if there's any excess surplus, I can look in if it's needed. There's only a certain amount that I would be able to use. Like I said, once we get to that point of it, I will let you know. There's also 1% comes from the federal grants. That's never an exact figure, but anything that what we budgeted last year, we received a lot more this year.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yes.
Right.
So for now, they told us to budget 75% of what we received this year, and it's not considered flat. A lot of people thought it was just going to be flat across the board, and they said no, it's not. Just budget 75%, but we might be surprised afterwards. So. Fingers crossed. There are some, we heard at our ASBO meeting this morning, our county meeting said that some districts, particularly I believe they said Union County has lost some of their federal grants. There might be a couple up in Sussex County, but so far, fingers crossed, we haven't received anything yet saying otherwise. That's our revenue. And the next is our expenditure breakdown. So the largest portion is 24% is regular programs and teachers, K through 8. This includes supplies, textbooks, all instructional programs they use, their salaries, aides, sublines, all that's incorporated into 24% of the budget. The next largest, which is almost equal to, is the benefits portion, 21%. But that category is more than just health care. when people think benefits, you just think of, prescriptions, medical, dental. But I have a separate slide that I'm going to break down what's part of that health benefits line, which is always the biggest line that we have in the budget, other than salaries. Special education makes up for 14%. That's LLD, MD, ERI classrooms, resource teachers, supplies, subs, all that falls into that category. That's the next largest. And then support services, which is the guidance counselors, nurses, child study team, the therapies, that all accounts right under the, that goes with special ed, right under it, because all those services fall into there. Operations and maintenance makes up 13%. It's included with custodians, security, there's general liability insurance in there, student accident insurance, all maintenance contracts, all maintenance vendors, required maintenance, custodial supplies, shared services we have with the town, and all the utilities, which have, I will explain on one of the slides coming up, but the utilities actually are out of control all across the board. Even with our solar, it's really increased this year. So that is a line that we really need to look into, possibly increasing, because we just don't know what's coming up. If they're going to put a tax hike on it or a freeze, we're not sure. The next is transportation. So transportation isn't just the busing for, regular busing, special ed transportation. It also includes aid in lieu, which is what is paid to students that have to be bused, like choice students. If they're choice students and non-public. So if they're attending and there's no busing for us to provide for them through the co-op, we have to pay the parents aid in lieu, which right now is $1,100. So they get payments twice a year, the end of December and the end of June. It's split up, and that number is determined by the state, and we just heard today that it's probably going to increase to about $1,200 or $1,250. So see there, we do bus some non-public students that attend Reverend Brown's or public school, what is that, Reverend Brown, and I think it's just Reverend Brown and Pope John, because some of the kids still go to Pope John for 7th and 8th grade. That accounts, that's a bigger savings because it's all these kids on the routes. So right now we have about 15 kids that receive aid in lieu for non-public, but the numbers are increasing every year. So we do have to budget more. School choice, we don't have as money this year, but we always have to account for more. People decide to move or change or whatever they want to do coming in, change schools. So we have that. The administration makes up 8% of the budget as well. So that's all the administrators, the staff, that's phone bills, it's all, that's the phone copiers, Board of Education expenses, the day-to-day running of the whole school. Legal, yes, legal, architects, audit, all those big things that go through the business office pretty much fall into that category. Do you have a question?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question. Can you explain the special services, the support services again? What's under support services?
Support services is the guidance counselor, the media, the library, the nurses, child study team, any therapies like physical therapy falls under that category as well.
Okay, that wouldn't be part of special education?
No, those are just the special ed classes.
Okay.
Okay, the next slide is the benefits breakdown. Okay, so 83% of the benefits goes to medical, dental, and prescription coverages. So when we budget for medical, we have to budget for all the staff members that receive the benefits. But we also have to budget for those who opt out, because at any time during the year, if they have a major life event that they need to take the benefits, we have to have them available, which means we have to refund it for them. So when we budget for health benefit, or anybody new that's coming in, so anytime we budget for it, it's not just, we can't just budget the amount of people that are receiving it. It always has to be, we have to have contingencies in there for anything that pops up. So the costs vary for the plans for the employee share and the employer and the district share. But I can't share those numbers right now, unfortunately. So that's one of the biggest areas. We were told during one of the committee meetings by our insurance agent that we should probably budget between 18 to 20%. We're in the shift, and they did go out and put out some bids for other healthcare carriers, and they were a lot higher than what the shift could provide. They just called me and they said that they'll have some numbers by the end of next week. It has to get approved, but they're not going to be anywhere close to the other carriers. That they were at 23%. So no, the state health fund is 31.9% as of January 1st. That's what they told us today. And there should be an increase of another 30% for the state health care next year. No good news there. 6% of the benefits is for the district's mandatory pension fund that we have to put in. 5% is Social Security contributions. And it's important that I want to say about Social Security and the PERS fund, because these numbers are always estimates, and they don't give us a formula on what to do. This is the first year that they gave us a formula that we can use to estimate the contributions for next year. So the good thing about having the contingencies in the benefits in the healthcare is because if any time there's a shortage, we have to, it's mandatory, so we have to cover it. So that's why it's always good to have a little bit extra in that area. 4% is workman's comp, which is required, and the final 1% is very small, but it covers the tuition reimbursement that's in the HTA contract for any teachers that want to advance their education, and payout of unused sick days for any retiring staff. That's also part of the contract, so we have to budget for that as well. And we never know how many people are budgeting. The only good thing with, are retiring, the only good thing with that is that they have to give us a specific date to tell us that they're retiring, so that way we can budget the following year to give them a payout. Now, if we happen to have it that year, they can receive it that year. If not, they know they have to receive it the following year. So that number, we always try to keep the same amount of money in there. Trying to see our list coming up.
The benefits category, going back to the previous pie chart, is that included in the 21% for benefits or the 8% for administration?
No, that's for the benefits. And the next one. Okay, here's the increases. It's the benefits. Like I said, prescription, medical, dental. We'll have better numbers within a week or two. Salaries were in negotiations, so what we haven't put into the budget right now are not accurate numbers, so they might be a little skewed. So I can't give any actual numbers of what the percentage increases will be. Utilities. Okay, so the utilities has skyrocketed. Middle school has, just the middle school I'm just going to talk about right now, is we have both solar and we have JCP&L, obviously. So I looked at the bills today, and between the solar and JCP&L, we've already paid out from July to January $107,000. Last year at that time, we've only paid out $79,000 between the two, so we have about a 39% increase, 38% increase, and we still have a couple of months left to go. I have reached out to the solar company because back in June, I realized that we weren't generating any solar. And they said there was a problem with one of the units that they had. And they sent someone out to fix it, but I don't think it's fully fixed because I'm not seeing anything. We don't usually generate that much in the winter anyway, but, you know, those costs have stayed down while GCP&L has skyrocketed, and they're more per kilowatt anyway, so we're going to see that increase there. The gas utilities have also risen, but not as much as that. And we have kind of we have a third party that sells us for gas as well. That's just for the elementary school, so that works out. And substitute lines. So we have the earned sick leave law, where any substitute teachers that work in a school district that come in, for every 30 hours they work for the district, they earn 1 hour of sick leave. So if they can earn up to 40 hours, and once they have 40 hours, they have 5 days, 6 days, so they can just call up one day and say, I don't feel like coming in and subbing today, but can I have a sick day? So we have to pay them. So that has increased our sublines as well. So there might be a slight increase in there. Some schools opt, they have different options that they have. We just keep a bank of it, and when someone calls for it, then we just give it to them. And we let them know, and they all have to know and sign off at the beginning of the year because it has to be posted. Some people didn't know of the earned sick leave, so you make sure that it's done. You want to properly fund. And then the decrease is the charter school enrollment. We had 5 students, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
6 students, and there will only be 1 this year, and there hasn't been anyone that has asked to enroll for next year. So we still have to budget for some students to attend, but it's probably going to be 50% of what we budgeted last year. So it's a big savings there.
Where do we get that number? Do we
The
just
state.
Okay.
The state gives us the number. They usually send us the paper right after the state aid is out. So they tell us, this is how much we project, this is how much you have to budget, and then we budget it, and at the end, like this year, we had to budget $118,000, but we didn't use anywhere near it because they just based it on the previous year's numbers. I think that's it. And then the next thing is the timeline. And then there's the timeline.
Which is a little different now anyway.
Yes, so I didn't get a chance to update that because it's just what we're looking through afterwards.
When's the deadline? You said
27th.
27.
Yeah, from the
20.
19th to the 27th.
So are we still on, timeline-wise, are we still on par with having just one meeting on the 17th? Or are we looking to change that? That was a combined meeting. I mean, we've done that in the past with the, the way that it was because the time, usually, it's a first year of a term, so this is usually the case every 4 years when the first year of a term. Historically, the budget address, like you said, is usually a couple weeks earlier. Are we going to be ready for the 17th, or do we need that, because that was the original plan, right, the 10th, usually the meeting's the second Tuesday, which would be the 10th, and then
We did
the
it to
budget
17th.
meeting is the 24th, but we combined it to find the middle ground. So I'm just asking for planning purposes, like, we've got a lot of meetings coming up in general.
So, yes, Sue and I were just talking about that before the meeting, because our March, as you all saw, March is pretty busy.
It's gonna be, yes.
Lots of calendar invites. We were just literally talking about that before the meeting started, about whether we keep it on the 17th or look to move it to another day in March. So we were going to add that to the executive session discussion tonight, so we could have time to look at our calendars and see.
Okay, I mean, sure.
Because I think we identified, I have to find my notes, I think it was the 19th and the 25th, but I wanted to make sure that there was enough time for Sue to get the numbers, process them, share them, and still get them over to the county office and give us an opportunity to look at what that middle of March looks like regarding all the other, and we have negotiations meetings, so there's,
So 19th we were thinking.
the 19th was the night we were thinking of
That's
possibly
what-
moving it to.
Mhm. That's when it was originally due to the county, but they changed it, but I think the 19th, we decided just to give it the week from when she makes her drive.
I think the
That's the day of
negotiations are
negotiation.
second, and
The 19th.
so we can't, yeah.
Meet the 19th?
That's why I was saying we need to look at our calendars.
Yeah, that's like reviews and stuff.
What? It's, middle of March is tight,
We're
team.
meeting more times in March than we aren't right now, it seems like, you know, like, that, on my
Defines
calendar-
threading the needle in March.
I know, but on my calendar, that was scheduled for us to have some kind of, I don't know, if there was interviews or something scheduled for that potential day of the first round or something like that, so. I just think like if you're gonna, this is my 2 cents, this is not really exactly, you can just public when we're having a meeting. March 10th is the address, the information comes out the 12th. By then you have the 17th, it's already on the calendar. If you need more time, you have the 24th as well, which still gives you 2 days to get it in before the 26th. And, I mean, there's nothing on my calendar, I don't know if there's something else, but like, I'm looking at what we got from, I guess you and Robin, what the plan was and what dates we were potentially meeting for first, second, third, all the jazz that's coming forward.
For all the calendar invites?
Yeah, there's nothing on the 24th, but we already had something on the 19th.
The 24th was the other date.
They went to 24th.
Okay.
I'm going through them all now.
You are right now?
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, we can continue the conversation. I'm just saying there's another week.
Yeah, with the changes that Sue was sharing beforehand, I just wanted to make sure that she had enough time to get it, process it, share it with us. That way, by that point, what we're looking at is the accurate numbers, and then still have time to have it submitted to the county office, and still not interfere with any of the other. There was more flexibility with this, ironically, than there was with changing negotiations meetings or the appointments for the interviews. So we tried to keep them locked and then see if we could try to move, if we need to move this, move it to one of those other 2 nights.
Okay.
Mike, you have all you're working on
I'm
them?
doing them all now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a negotiated rate by the next time we meet from the personnel committee? Like, are you negotiating for the salary increases right now?
So the
Negotiations are coming, they're doing that, that's separate of the personnel committee, so negotiations have started, but that doesn't go through the personnel committee, that's a separate committee.
Okay, so
So,
are you
like,
gonna have those numbers for
I'm not
this
on that
budget?
committee, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. That will be determined on how those meetings go and how long that takes. I don't know how, I don't know how long that will take. Hopefully it's short, and smooth, but I don't know.
Right.
And you
And
have the budget anticipating you're not knowing what those numbers are. That's the challenge as well.
Right, so are we plugging in some numbers to determine what this budget is going to be?
Well, there's numbers plugged in right now, but I can't say what numbers are plugged in.
No, the numbers are obviously a guess, and negotiations are not bound by the budget deadline. So it could, I mean, sometimes negotiations in other districts have gone into the following year. You know what I mean? So negotiations are a separate entity, so all we can do is take a guess.
So at what point are we gonna actually see the actual percentages and numbers for this budget as a board, so before we vote?
Well, the numbers aren't out yet, so that's what we're discussing regarding the governor's address. We don't know what they are because she hasn't shared them. So until that happens, we don't know. Sue had mentioned she's plugged everything else in, but
I think
much like it is all these other years, we don't know until the numbers come
I don't
out.
want to put words in your mouth, but you're kind of like asking, like, what kind of tax increase are we budgeting for?
Right.
Based off the information that they just presented to us, again, you don't have to what you assume, but like, I'm assuming we're gonna be going to 2% based off of right now, we have a 38% increase in, a 38% increase in utilities. The consumer price index for transportation's right now looking at 3.8. I know you didn't say that, but that's what we're looking at. Benefits, we don't know the exact number, but on average was 21%. Right now, if we just budget what the increase last year, we can't, and I appreciate that we don't want to say what we're doing there because it's negotiations, but like historically 3.2% was what was there. All of those numbers are higher, so I'm assuming we're going to probably be preparing and presenting a 2% increase in the budget of the tax levy. And then the question is, how much aid do we get, and what kind of impact does that have for our budget? And like, we don't know those numbers until the actual budget address, but I guess what we're banking on is a flat. We're hoping, ideally, yes, it'd be nice if we get more, but if we get a flat, so we're only looking at the only 2% of the tax levy is the only increase that we had, and then a decrease from, substantial. It's only one. Would you say how many are now? Like 6 students are in charter school right now,
And it's just
and
down to
going
one.
down to 1. That's significant decrease if that upholds, because it's something. What is it per student?
I mean, that could be $100,000 right there.
Per student.
No, I mean,
total.
14, right?
So that's like a $100,000 decrease right there total, like that could potentially. But then you just said what, 39% for utilities for a 6-month time period. Extrapolate that out, right? We're looking at like that probably washes that away, let alone that 100,000 there. It goes hand in hand with the 7 years of state aid decreases that we've experienced here. I wanted to segue and use this time like it's discussion time period. Like, I don't know if everyone's paying attention to what like our neighbors to the south are trying to do, and talking about Highlands impact aid and how by us being in the Highlands region and the lack of us being able to actually develop in some of our areas has caused, look at like Jefferson and West Milford and other things there. Like, we as a board potentially would like to talk about this and send to the committees, like get involved in that, because we have an impact in that 35% of our school district is in the Highland Preservation Area, the Stockholm, like I think about half of us live in Stockholm, like you cannot develop there. So our taxes are limited, so our tax base is limited, and the S1 funding formula does not account for any of this. So it's kudos to actually our neighbors at South and Jefferson and West Milford actually stepping up and starting this process, where like in the 90s, everyone knows the Highlands Act put in place that restricted development in certain areas, which gives water to 70% of the state. Hardiston is greatly impacted by that. And I feel like we should be uniting and working with, we had our liaison here last time, the council should be involved in this, and how are we, and our legislators and stuff too, like, because we're not getting funded correctly when we're getting decreased in our funding, and we're actually hindered by, like, if our tax base increased, would give us more funding, and then it would be less money that would be put on us and the taxpayers, and our students are being impacted. So I think that that's something that I would like to really explore over the next couple of weeks of how we do that. I haven't done it personally because I can't act as a board. I'm only one individual, but I feel like that's something we as a board, I think, should get behind, because West Milford is doing it, Jefferson is doing it, Ringwood has joined up into it. I brought it up in my town where I work. It's something that is. We need to get in, it's happening, it's going, and it's growing, and I feel like we need to get involved to support our neighbors, but it also impacts us. And to that point, this is going on right now, and the budget address is happening, and there's a potential opportunity for impact that's not like increasing and changing S1 or the S2 formula, but it's potential positive impact. So I just wanted to throw that on everyone's radar. I don't have an answer for that right now, but I think that that's part of this discussion of what we should do, of how we get more potential awareness that why we're in the situation we're in. You know what I mean? That they're cutting our funding in there. So, you're hearing it, right, Mike? Or is that like something? I know it's like, it's not, I can't ask Mike to do that as a superintendent. That's us as a board asking, that's, you know what I mean? That's like, I'm not asking Sue or Mike or the administration to do all this stuff. We're talking to us, like collectively, and we need to like advocate for our community.
But this is not something we're gonna resolve in a month prior.
I don't know, the
approval
budget
of
address
this
goes
budget.
out, and they've been pretty loud. Like, I mean, people are addressing it, like, you know what I mean, it's in education commissions, I mean, their state senator actually spoke in favor of it, like, we'll go talk with the education, like, that's why I said, we need to have our people. Like, it's not, it seems like legislative 25 is doing something, I haven't, you know, like, and I know some of our 24 has gotten involved in doing it, but like, I think it's time. Like, if we're like, so I can't address that. I don't know what they're gonna say in the budget address. I don't know if they're gonna impact and address this funding formula and like how they're gonna support it. Like, but to sit back and not do anything when our neighbors are collectively rallying around this cause, I think it's something that we should joining in through.
Ron, oh, sorry, Donna, not to put you on the spot at all, but I know you attend a lot of the county meetings. Has this topic come up on like a broader level or discussion at any of your recent county meetings?
Well, I normally go to the state meeting and also the county meeting. And we discussed budget in the state school board association. And it's not a pretty picture. It's not, because I've been on the negotiation team for roughly 9 out of my 12 years here. And knowing that we can't discuss the numbers or the percentage of increase until we know what the union is actually pushing for on benefits. Because first of all, benefits cost money. Okay, so all that's got to be added together before we wind up getting even an inkling of what the union is looking for as far as you know, dollars and cents. So we have to go through at least 2 or 3 more meetings with the negotiation team, with the teachers and us. And I will be bringing back the information, or myself, or through Brian. And it's at a point where everything is in flux right now, because there's nothing hard that I can tell you, except that it's going to be a hard swallowing the amount that we're going to have to wind up coming up with. And again, what Nick has been talking about, you know, hey, you know, maybe we should get involved with the other communities, and you know, we're all having the same kind of problem. Everybody's going through things. Everybody's got problems with the 2%. How are we going to do it 2% when everything else is going up 10, 20, 30%? It's, you know, what do we do? What do we do? Are we going to... We have been so darn lucky because we have been putting everything on the table for years, and we have been talking about it, and there's quite a few good minds here that throw up a lot of discussion points and figure out, hey, wait a minute, we haven't laid off anybody. We haven't really stopped any kind of programs. We've been very, very lucky. We've planned. We've got into the right insurance group. That was one of the biggest things that, you know, going back 8, 9 years ago, that we wound up jumping into a insurance group that is actually somehow making money. And we're getting dividends on that. So as we come up with our next meeting, which is coming up, what, another week or so, I will be bringing a report of what we could wind up talking about. We might have to go into executive because we're talking, it's gonna be definitely financial. And it's gonna be a committee of the board as a whole. You know, as the negotiations, we have never had the team say, hey, we're gonna make up our minds ourselves. We always brought it back to the whole board. It's the board's decision. We have to get a frame. It's gotta be somewhere in between this. So we have to get a high and low from the board. Unfortunately, we might have to go a lot higher than we really want to. So it's gonna be a rough decision, and we can't give you an idea until we wind up finding out what is gonna be put on the table and be requested for as far as benefits. So, we have a very, very good attorney there that has helped us and brought us through many contracts already. Unfortunately, we have a different people on the union side, and also from the union. We haven't dealt with it before, but we'll have to see as time goes on what's going to happen. So we have no information I can share now because there isn't any.
Thanks, Ron. So regarding time frame, our committee meetings are scheduled for March 12th.
March 12th.
Yep. So her address is on the 10th. I mean, to Nick's point, I'm happy to draft something and share it out to all of you. I mean, if we're looking at and perhaps we did this during the 6 or 7 years of cuts, and I just don't remember, but whatever we would call it, political action alert, or this we believe statement of some type that our board shares to our local elected officials to indicate our concern about state aid or potential cuts in state aid. I'm happy to work with you on that or anybody on that.
Like we discussed it, but there was we could create a resolution, draft it, and then that would be the process. And then after that, then we designate somebody that could actually coordinate with people from these neighboring communities or our legislative representatives to, so they understand and are aware that we are in support of this. That's what the board agrees to do. And then I think solicit input from our assembly representatives and our senator and ask for them to go to bat about these issues. And the first step would be this, and then we can talk to our other neighboring areas because we have other districts and see what they're doing. Because I know a lot of it is different counties, like Morris County, Passaic, but we are in the Highlands region. I mean, there's a preservation area and there's a development area, and a big chunk of this is the preservation area, which I'm referencing, which is where we cannot develop, we cannot do those things, which is impacted West Milford and Jefferson are in those areas tremendously. So I feel like that is something. That's what I'm referencing is that because yes, all of Franklin's in the development area, you know what I mean, in Hamburg, but you can still develop. But I'm talking about we have a great chunk of our town that's can't even be developed. So the whole point of this is that our tax dollars, it's been and everyone knows this, right? I've been on the board with Ron and Donna for 12 years, and we've seen this. There's been a shift from the state that is saying they want us to tax our own people instead of the state giving us money. That's been the mindset.
That's a lot of money.
And we, for the last 7 or 8 years, have done that with the aspect of our state aid has gone down, and we get state aid according to this funding formula, which a lot of people say is not fair. which is predominantly based off of enrollment. Yes, our enrollment has gone down, but what they're not saying is that other districts whose enrollment has not gone up or is getting way more money and but their enrollment has not gone up to the same percentage as ours gone down. But the aspect of why I appreciate this and I appreciate what they're trying to do is because it doesn't take an impact that like we're in a different situation because we can't, our own citizens here are being taxed at a higher rate because we can't develop per se as like a Bayonne can, or a, you know what I mean, like a district in a, you know, a different area that is not in the Highlands. And I think that that's an argument that hasn't come forward yet, is that our district and our township, our citizens are being taxed at a higher rate, and we're benefiting 70% of the population of the state who are getting water from us. And I feel like that is an argument that I have not heard yet, but it's valid. And like kudos to the people who are arguing this, and that's why I said I think it's, I don't know how it's, I'm not saying we're gonna have all the money, but that's why it's called impact aid. Our town is being impacted, it's not a separate line, and Mike, there's like different types of, they do this in areas of aid where different townships that are agreed, or in these areas would get a percentage or based off of it. But like, I think that if they do this, maybe not to the per se of like West Milford who has 100%, like these other towns, and they're bigger enrollment, but I feel like our people, our citizens, and our community has been impacted by the same fight that they're fighting. And I think like our first step, we could talk further about it offline, but I figured that this was a good time to bring up the budget, and state aid is a big part of the budget, and how do we like, you know, organize on a collective effort, if that's something, I'm the only one speaking, and this is probably something that a lot of you might not have heard of before tonight, which I appreciate. But I would encourage people to look into it, and then if that's something that we want to, we would pass a resolution, we would start this, and we would start to solicit the feedback and input from our reps down in Trenton to support us in this effort to claw back dollars to this township, which our people have been taken away. So I welcome the idea and conversation later on. I don't want to take too, I know it's, but it is budget related.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I know I've kind of followed that quite closely, and Jefferson's done a really great job, especially getting it out, and kind of making a big deal about it, and I know they've been very involved with the state legislature, and had people come and speak and everything, but I'm just curious and wondering how can we learn more about what the current status is of the discussion in Trenton? Because my understanding was that there was a formula to provide support for regions in the Highlands back in, 2008, 10, going back years and years and years, that just hasn't been funded because of other things. So I guess I'm curious, because we're not similar, I shouldn't say we're not similarly situated. We're not situated the same in that we're not 100% in the Highlands preservation. Although I did think we were a lot more than 35% in it too. So I'm just curious, what is the discussion in Trenton in terms of if there was a mechanism to provide the aid, and if so, it just hasn't been funded, what was the formula? Is it helpful? So I'm just curious if there's a way that we can learn more about that, or kind of educate ourselves a little bit on how that formula would play out and how big a difference it would make.
Yeah, for sure. Good point. So it's something that we could talk about later,
Because my understanding is that there was something provided for in it. It's just that it's kind of fallen by the wayside in favor of other budget discussions in Trenton over the past 15 or so years, probably closer to 20 years. So it's not clear to me whether the discussion has been about new legislation or just funding existing legislation, in which case, what's that formula look like?
S2, right? Like S2. So like their funding formula, they adopted a new one, and that's where like a big rallying cry that says fix the funding formula.
Yeah.
But now it's been labeled as S2, but it's not even really fully operating. So first thing to do is everyone should look into what S2, and actually the parameters of what that funding formula is, if they actually did it. So they're not, like, that's where this is a formula that we're supposed to be utilizing it, but they're not even utilizing it to the full extent of what it even says.
But is that the same formula that was part of the Highlands Development Act in the first place from
No,
2004?
like
Okay,
that.
that's what I'm trying to understand.
So like that was a change, because even if you
Right.
look at the islands that say that like the districts and the townships should be supported.
Right.
And being opportune because we're giving up these areas, but I don't believe that funding for the first one before us to even accommodate.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand, is the interplay between the different formulas and the Highlands Preservation Act when it was passed, what the formula was provided for in that as compared to the school funding formulas. And that's the interplay that I just feel like I don't understand
Yeah.
well enough to kind of have an opinion on, is it worth it to dive into this full force? It may very well be, and I probably agree with you, but I just want to make sure I understand that and make sure it makes sense.
I mean, maybe it's like we could talk to Joe and see where, like, it is, because I think a big part of their argument is that when the Highlands came out, that was supposed to be support that
Right,
they were supposed
exactly.
to do, and they never did it.
Exactly.
So there's already in the Highlands
Some
law
districts receive impact aid.
like, for that particular reason, it's like just called impact aid, but it's like they're trying to, like,
I'm thinking Kid
Finagle
City
it.
and Sanduston,
right.
but I don't know.
But that's not Highlands, because they're not in the Highlands, but I think that's what they're trying to say, is that you can give impact aid for this cause.
Yeah.
Because impact aid is a thing, and that's not, it's like it's in the mechanism, so that's why we were like, is this something that can happen now? It's like, they're the ones that hold the purse strings, right? That's the trend, they could decide and be like, you know what, you're right, like, this is, like, we're sorry, I don't know, like, it's not my, but I'm just saying, if they hear, it's not just a Morris County and a Passaic County thing.
Yeah.
Like, there are townships in Sussex County that are impacted by this as well. And we are probably
I
the
thought
one,
we
we
were
are the
majority in
township that's
Highlands
the most
Preservation.
impacted. What?
I thought we were majority in the Highlands Preservation.
I said 35%, it's like 17, that, like, you can, it's
Okay.
on, you could,
Yeah, I looked at
it's in the,
that.
it's in the report. We could look it up and see it, and you can see how much is development area and how much is preservation. But like
Yeah,
I
we're
said,
closer to that.
we have, but I know it's substantial.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we all
Well,
live
if I
there.
may just say a few things, I don't know enough about it right now to make a comment. I'd like to learn more about it and how it impacts, just past the farmers, land preservation here in our county, in our area. I don't know if that's related to that or not. We need to learn more about it.
Yeah, like, yes, so a couple educational points probably before our committee meetings, we could talk about it and then come up. I could share some things out, but you look up the Highlands Commission Act, and then you could look up S2 formula, and then if you're on Facebook, you can just Google, go to their Highlands Impact Aid, which in about, they started 3 weeks ago, they started this effort, and there's like 2,800 followers. Other boards of education are putting out letters joining the cause. It's pretty, they've done a pretty good ad campaign to do so, to get the message out in a short amount of time. And it's their state senator in Senator Bucco from the legislative 25 is already on their side rallying and speaking on their behalf in Trenton. So you can see
maybe
a couple
can you
things.
share some of this information with us via email?
Yeah, I will,
And
definitely.
Just send it to.
Absolutely.
board?
Yep, I will, and I think it's something that we want to do, then, I mean, I think it'd be good if somebody else wants to join in with me, and then we can, like, start this effort of, like, reaching out to our legislators and, having meetings and conversations of how can we, get that kind of ball rolling.
Good.
All right.
All right, good. Thank you very much, Nick, for sharing all that information. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for entertaining me.
Brian,
Yep.
I brought something up a year or two ago that we started in the New Jersey school boards. And if we get on their site, we could look up different school districts and find out the contract information as far as percentages that the schools settled on their contracts. And I know it's early in the year, but there's got to be one or two in there.
I'm sure we can talk about that offline. I'm sure Joe has all that information. Our attorney probably has all that information as well.
Yeah, our attorney did not want to put it in, did not want to put ours in.
Okay, understood.
So, if anybody's really interested, they could wind up going on NewJerseySchoolBoard.org.
Thank you, Ron. As we continue our discussion, any other thoughts, comments, questions on tonight's presentation, or anything else as we move deeper into budget season? Hearing none, and as we wait for the governor, again, our committee meetings are the 12th, so her address is the 10th. I think Sue mentioned it's usually a day or two delay, so I suppose there's a chance you get them, and then we come in for our committee meetings, so
Yeah.
it's a nice tight turnaround. All right, and then we'll, I guess for now, we'll stick with the 17th and then evaluate that further as we get deeper into March, because the calendar is very tight. All right, moving on to public comment on anything. Seeing and hearing none. We will have executive session tonight to discuss real estate matters. So I'll make the motion at 8 o'clock.
Is there gonna be action?
After?
Yeah.
No action taken after.
Second.
Second by Nick. I would give us 20 to 25 minutes for 25 minutes for the real estate discussion, and then we'll be back to close out. But no action will be taken. Good. All right.
In favor?
All in favor? We'll go into the small room over there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming.